right, so if you're just joining us, it's Matter Films here in Kenya, and I have a great panel with me. But before we can continue the conversation, we're getting a lot of your feedback this morning, and allow me to just read a few of the comments that we're getting, and that's because we're asking, if you were to shoot a film, where would your preferred destination here on the African continent be, and why? Is it Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria? And as you can see, Kenya so far is taking the lead. Here are some of your feedbacks. Anthony, you say Nigeria, reason because Nigeria population is high compared to Kenya. The demand might be high if the film is good. Jawa, you say Nigeria as well. Nigeria are far more concerned about movies than Kenya and SA. Adagala, you say, SA, they have 25% rebate on filmmaking. Kenya is still not clear on rebates. Also, over taxation on film equipment. KFC should research more and make our country attractive, because movie create employment like Logan, created about 15,000 jobs. A bit more of your feedback still. I wish to showcase Kenya to the world, especially the north parts of the country, how spectacular it is, regardless of the improper view most people have about insecurities in the area. Hashtag we can express. Also, another comment is Kenya is blessed with magical places like the hot springs, something rare that doesn't exist in any part of the countries. Now, the thing is, gentlemen, a lot of the feedback that I've just read as well is that they're choosing Kenya because of our beautiful environment, which is no doubt. But it being a beautiful environment, especially Tosh, Tosh is laughing. From an economic point of view, a budget point of view, that doesn't mean that it makes it a viable in terms of business. For example, the movie The Crown, the TV series The Crown that was showcasing Queen Elizabeth II, we both know she became queen here in Kenya. However, they decided to shoot the film in a different part and disguise it as Kenya, right? So here, they shot it in SA, if I'm not wrong. But here, so it's not that we do not have the locations. It's just that the friendly environment is not there. Tosh. Yes, I will begin with you.
Wow, okay. It's 2018. And it's a different time. Yes, a long time ago it was about the beauty of a place and all that. But now technology has changed things. They can actually recreate Masai Mara in studios in Hollywood. So then circumstances change. So it's all about money. A producer will be like, if I go to shoot in Kenya, will I save the money I have to spend to make this film? Do I get rebates? Do I get incentives? Is there capacity? You know, do I only just come with my director and my DOP and I'm sure to get world-class crew in that country? Well, at the moment in Kenya, we're failing on a lot. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to let go of this notion that we're a beautiful country. It's not enough. South Africa is also beautiful. Namibia is also beautiful. We need to now start focusing on these other elements that complete. You know, like when you have a tender, you have to do percent here, percentage here.
Right.
You can't just focus on one of it and hope to win the tender. You have to, you know, balance out everything.
So it's not a matter of the beautiful scene, no. It's the incentives, the friendly environment for creators.
Capacity. You know, like, I can count the number of DOPs we have in this country in one hand. You know, focus pullers. Do we have more than 10? No. You know, wardrobe, production designers. All these people, all these HODs, professional ones, are really less than 10, you know, in each category. So it's not enough. And that's what we need to start figuring out. How do we enhance this? But then again, it's not easy. We don't have a vibrant local film industry. So how do we go about it? For me, in my opinion, we need to first all come together as one.
Right.
Yeah, we're still, there's Riverwood, there's KFTPA, there's, you know, different associations, everybody with their own agenda, yet we're the same, we have the same goals. So I think that's where first we need to come together as one and go for what we still don't have a film policy. you know. Out of Africa, shot here 1988, I'll have you know, is the sole reason why our tourism industry does so well.
That's the thing.
Yes,
yeah.
and yet the film industry is not really looked at as an important industry. Yet,
a tapping point.
Yes, yes. If it wasn't for that film, our tourism will not be where it is.
So do you feel...
Can I say
sure,
something about that? I think the legislature and where producers can make savings in money is very, very important. But I also think that as Kenyan filmmakers, we need to get we need to have some skin in the game. We need to have a stake in the sense that the situation where we're waiting for people to come and make films here, we should be making films here. The way people make films in your place, if you have stories about your place. And we have very rich stories, very powerful stories. And the way I'm yet to see a film, unless it's like an obscure indie film that was made by one organization. A lot of people co-produce. That was the same model we applied in the film that we did. So if we say we want to develop our own particular story, start generating stories from here, as opposed to saying, you're making The Crown, come and shoot it in the country. It's viable, and then people need to push that agenda. But my individual perspective is, if I develop The Crown, then it will definitely be shot here. So if somebody develops something, and understanding that you have access to a global pool of talent, a global pool of crew, and all that kind of thing. And even our skill set, as much as they're few, it's not lacking, right? The few that are there, they will grow, but the few that are there are really professional, are really talented. So I say, let's start creating a bit more as the government is being pushed, because there are a lot of people, even on the issue of the film policy, that people have been trying to push for quite some time. I know there's a committee of people who are trying to push that. And everybody needs to do their part. So they can push that, they can push legislation, but as that changes, because it'll take time, then anybody who's on the creating end, just try as much as you possibly can to create stories from here.
Remember the 2010 film by Leonardo DiCaprio, Inception? There's a scene where they have Mombasa in it, but they made it in Morocco. They shot it in Morocco. So in Morocco, they made a mini Mombasa within it. Dixon, are you also of the same school of thought, especially from a business perspective? It's not that we do not have the scenes in Kenya. It's the business aspect of it, the numbers, the incentives, the taxation, etc.
You know, all those things form one category. Actually, there are many more. First of all, it starts when you're young. You're told to be a lawyer and a doctor. So even music, when I was growing up, musician was, how watu wanafanya nini? Akina Poxy Pressure, very nice guys I used to watch. Akina Masi, Myra and all those guys. No one really wanted to listen to them, and there's no one point you are told, please work hard to be an actor, you know, be a lawyer and all these things. So first of all, there is about a culture to appreciate art. That's the very first thing. Two, no one wants to invest in film. That's the truth. A book go to a bank and tell them you need 10 million to invest in shooting a movie. No one will give you that loan.
But if it was real estate...
But if it was real estate, they would. And if it was the US, they'll see this is a good investment because there's return on investment. Two, in the US, when you look at all these guys who are executive producers, they're businessmen. They come, they invest in a film. I don't want to mention names, but all these big shots in Kenya, I would go tell them I want to buy property and sell, they'll maybe perhaps join you. You tell them I have a movie and a script. First of all, they won't even read it. Second of all, also about lawyers. One of the wonderful things I met guys in Hollywood and all these actors is that all of them had lawyers who've studied law in terms of acting, film, and contracts.
Entertainment.
So here you go, entertainment law. So here you go, a lawyer who's a civil or industrial lawyer to work out something for you, and they don't know, so probably they'll Google it, which is okay. But still at the same time. So one, there's the infrastructure. Two, there's a government support. Three, there's a communal support, parents and all these things, and then people wanting to invest in them. And when we talk even about the people, and he was talking about directors of photography and all these things, still I can't blame Kenyans, because where do they get to learn? Because where do you get this kind of machinery? When you go to different places, to Toronto and all these places, you find that the schools actually invest a lot of money in actually teaching these things. But where do you get this machinery? Those cameras, some of those cameras are like 3 million shillings. So who's going to buy them to teach someone? And when you look at the amount of money someone is paying in KU. So when you look at it, also the economic part really matters. And then for me, the very, very last thing is the fact that we have very, very, very poor people who are willing to invest their time in arts. You see, when you're poor, there's a thing, and that's a fact. When you're poor, you do not have accessibility. One of the things we're doing with Muli, after the premiere, we're taking it straight to Kibera. And then from there, we're taking it to Madare. And then we'll go on with the other guys who can afford in the theaters. Why? There's so much talent there that is oppressed because people who can afford to come to these schools are less. So the scouting needs to be done at the village level because there's so much talent there. And that's why Lupita can make it in the US. Who's Lupita? I mean, she's someone who got an opportunity to act with Fastbender and these other guys. Right. Why? Because there was good scouting. For the Muli movie, as I finish, do you know we had about 23 characters. There were 150 people who were scouted for scenes. All of them had never acted before. What the director did, he was like, I do not want anyone who has acted. Give me raw talent of 150 people for 23 acting scenes because it's a feature film documentary. So there's the documentary part, there's the acting part. And I loved it because it was like, he was given all this list of actors in Kenya and he met some actors. He was like, oh, these people are really great and I'd love to work with them. But what are you guys doing to develop the raw talent in the village? And he was like, I want people from the slums, I want people from the village. And it took him 3 months to do casting, and I loved it because these people now can be actors because someone gave them an opportunity.
And they're employed.
And they're employed. So look at it, I mean, in development of talent, also look at it from the marginalized people. They have talent.
Charlie, do you feel as if, for you, did you always know you wanted to be an actor? Like he said, as Dixon said, you never told work hard to be an actor. You told work hard to be a doctor, a lawyer. For you, did you always know this is what you wanted to do and do it this way, acting?
No, I think I tell people this story a lot. Initially, I wanted to be an astronaut, but then there was that shuttle launch and then it blew up. Like it was live on telly and then it blew up. I was like, nope, maybe not. But I knew I wanted to become an actor like from, I think it was class 6. In primary school, we did one of these weird scenes. And then I got into the scene and actors say this a lot and people get sick of it, but I was in the scene. I felt it. So yeah, I knew I wanted to become an actor since then, like since about class 6.
What was your parents' response, and really your friends and those around you?
No, my mom and dad, I'm really grateful for them because they're super chill. Like they're just there because I went to a good high school. I went to Alliance, and then I went to Strathmore, and then they were like, I think in their minds they were like, okay, it's going to be like some suit and tie guy. And then I just told my folks, I'm like, yo, I'm going to do this acting thing. They were like, oh, okay.
Oh, but that's school fees and acting, okay.
Because at first they didn't understand, but once they saw my effort and all the things I was doing to get ahead and to get my head in the game, they appreciated. I think for my mom and my dad, it's the effort and the time and the amount of work that I put in. So to the extent that when I'm home, my mom sits me down, she goes like, I don't understand these things you do, but just tell me, what are you doing? I just want to know. So she doesn't really understand, but she just wants to hear that I'm making moves.
Right.
That's all she needs to know.
And the thing, speaking of making moves, last year you shared with me you were in SA for a couple of the months to shoot a different film there.
Yes.
And most of it was German-based, if I remember correctly. Danish-based.
Yes.
What is it? Is there a big difference from how we do our projects here in Kenya and how, because you've worked, this is an international project, and how they do theirs? What are the distinctive differences?
But there's a luxury. Oh, first off, let me say props to Bramwell and the rest of the guys at Water. It's through working with them that I got the gig in SA. But what you realize the difference is one of the main differences is the luxury in time and finances. You find that people from first world countries, when they're shooting, you can, like a scene takes maybe, on screen it'll take 5 minutes, but we'll shoot that scene for we did it for 3 days.
5 days.
For 5 days.
A
there's
scene that takes
in
5 minutes.
Yeah, there's a scene in What Water that takes 5 minutes. When you watch it, it's 5 minutes. You think, they shot this in an afternoon. It took us 5 days. So there's that luxury in, because you know where your budget is coming from when you're making your schedule, you'd put it all there. But in Kenya, a scene that's taking 5 minutes on your screen, by then you can shoot that thing in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You tap 3 cameras like this, like that, pap, pap. No, take 2 forward. So there's that luxury, because in Kenya, it feels like you're always in a rush. You're like, your money is running out, time is running out. You need to do this, because you feel like it's even a luxury. Like being able to make a film, it's like a privilege you're given. So you need to grab it and run away with it.
Tell us about how you guys were able to close down one entire street. And if that was to happen in Kenya, would it even be possible?
Oh, in SA?
Yeah, because I remember
that was
during Sense 8, they closed down
the overpass at Globe.
How much would they have paid for that? But anyway.
Josh will tell, because Josh is close.
I know, I can see him, I'm eyeing him, I'm coming to him.
I think anything is possible. I want to make a comment first on probably your SA experience. The producer on this particular film, who's called Tobias, grew up in SA. He's Germany, grew up in SA for a bit, and then went to Germany, and then he wanted to make a film. And when conversations about this particular film, What was being discussed, he had the option, because he has a lot of friends in SA. They told him, come down, you can shoot the film in SA. Everything is easier, smoother, legislation is all there. But he wanted a form of authenticity that could not be achieved by telling the story from there. Because we've all seen things like Eye in the Sky, or where you see it's a Soweto township, but they're trying to pass it out as Isili. And that clearly doesn't work, and not for audiences. When it comes to shutting down streets, we shut down a whole street in Mwingi. I think when people get a chance to watch the film, and by the way, it's premiering not at Prestige, but at the Junction Century Cinemax. So when people get a chance to see the film, they'll see that there's a particular day where we locked like an entire street in Mwingi for one of our scenes.
Tosh, that issue of locking down an entire street to shoot a film, doesn't it not sort of interrupt Kenyans' normal day-to-day life, and also the financial part of it? Share with us the financial part of it.
You see where we are, even for us to think that shooting a complicated scene or shooting for 5 days is a luxury. It just shows that, what we are accustomed to. And it again goes back to the mindset. In fact, you touched on what I really want to say about culture. That the arts are not seen as a business. But, I mean, which business do you inject 100 million and 3 months later it's $1 billion? This is the business. And we need to start looking at the arts as such, And that has been our biggest weakness. And thanks, you touched on that. That's our biggest weakness in this country, because it's always been engineer, lawyer. Even for me, by the time my folks and my family accepted is when they realized that, I kept going and I was not turning back. So they had to embrace it. And that's how it is for a lot of people. All right. So it's unfortunate that it's seen as a luxury, but it's the dedication, it's the detail. And that's how you get a product that people can appreciate.
Lastly, Dixon touched on the issue of government support, and which you also did in terms of how these scenes shot in the film can then translate into our tourism industry. So there's a ripple effect. Yeah. Brand Kenya, Ezekiel Mutua with his board and KFC, the licensing body, do you feel as if they are even paying enough attention, or they're just making it even more difficult for us to produce movies here in Kenya, which have a positive result in other industries, e.g. tourism?
I think it's starting. Just last year, towards the end, there was the IFC International Film, whatever, and there was discussions of what we need to do, and we're talking now, like what needs to happen. So I think it's starting to happen. The PS of what's the information?
Joe Misheru.
Yes. No. The PS. Joe Okedo, I think. So he's interested now. There's a lot of talking now that is happening on what we can do. And at that panel, he actually said that, you know, they have a WhatsApp group of all the PSs, and they're talking to see how, you know, because it's all linked. When you're making a film, in one film you'll need the Ministry of Environment.
Right.
The other one you need wildlife. So the sooner that they all understand what film business is, the better it is for
all of them to be on board.
For us. Yeah, and in terms of locking down streets, again, it's our business. It's the business we're in. And, you know, we get that support from the government. You know, we need it. Like, if you, in the States, it's standard. Like, I was walking in New York, and you just see, you come across a whole street is locked up, and there's signage. Sorry, there's a film going on down the street. And you just see people normal. Just turn, walk, and go down the other block. You know, because it's something that has been accepted in the culture, and that's the nature of the business.
Oh, beautiful. Tosh's remarks bring us to an end of this discussion because time is up. But thank you so much, gentlemen. Tosh Gitonga, the director of Nairobi Half-Life, Dixon Muli, who is the production manager for Muli the film, Brahma Airo, who is the service producer for Watu Wote, and of course Charlie Karumi, who is an actor, but also one of the lead actors, right, within the film Watu Wote. That dramatic scene, I think it's dramatic. There's no debate. Yes, according to the trailer. And thank you so much at home for watching. These are the statistics that we've gotten, because this morning we were asking you, if you were to shoot a movie in Kenya, where would your preferred location be and why? So far Kenya has taken up that specific lead with 54%, South Africa 38%, Nigeria 8%. We got about 1,359 of you voting. So thank you so much for taking part in this specific conversation. I'll be with you again at 11 for News Center. Till then, bye-bye.